Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, everyone. Unfortunately, all great times come to an end, as well as this Congress. As we are approaching towards the end of this successful Congress, we'll be having an agenda of great people in this closing ceremony. But first, let's have a recap of yesterday's event in this short video.
Distinguished guests, partners, friends, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you all. I'm delighted to share this video with you on behalf of UN Habitat at the closing ceremony of the 57th ISOCARP World Planning Congress.
And now, to sum up all 4 days of the Congress, I'd like to have our General Rapporteurs joining us on the stage, Mr. Piotr, Lorens, and Ms. Hope.
Well, thank you so much. Can we have the presentation up and running? Yeah, okay. So we would like to deliver the summary of the Congress, and this will be done in the different format than what we presented at the very beginning. So basically, both Professor Hangwelani, Magidimisha, which is hard to pronounce, but I learned right from the first day, how to pronounce it, will introduce us to the issues and topics which were supposed to be discussed during this event. And then I'll have a pleasure to invite all the track members, track leaders to actually come to the stage and present the outcomes of their tracks. So this is basically what we are going to do. And then afterwards, there will be a very brief summary of the key takeaways. And in the end, we would like to invite our local colleagues to present their thoughts on that, what can be important, what can come out as an important message from the Congress for the community of Qatar and for the entire region. So, Hope, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Piotr, and welcome everyone to our final day. So what I will just do here is just to recap with the topic of the Congress, which we all know is written all over around us. You turn around, you see it. So it's just, the topic is planning unlocked, new times, better places, and of course, stronger communities. So this is what we're focusing on, and of course, throughout the process, and you will hear this from our presenters, we are talking about the lesson learned, the takeaway messages, and the further debates, and I think Piotr will also touch on this one. Now, we also have this Congress. It's one of its own kind since COVID-19, as it has.
Sorry, this doesn't work for some reason.
Okay.
Can we have the next slide, please? Okay, now it works. Okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Sorry about that. So we acknowledge this Congress is unique on its own kind. Since COVID-19, of course, we're dealing with two processes here in physical attendance and online attendance, and which is also got its own merit if you look at it closely, because you are able to still connect with people who are not here. So we also felt the sense of culture, embracing culture, looking around and the environment, the food, the way in which we have been welcomed. So that is the format in which we found here. And also this blended way, you find that we are able to have Arabic translation from Arabic to English is also very good. It's something that we really appreciate. And of course, we've got different tracks across the regions. across the cities within Qatar, which also present different experiences to us. And this is also some of the takeaway home a message that we take with us. Okay, here. Yeah, so let me just tease you a little bit with some interesting statistics that we have. In total, we have about 288 papers, and this includes both virtual and physical. And we also have 4 key presentations, and we also have about 647 registrations. And of course, this includes both virtual and online, virtual and physical. And throughout, and you will see that you were spoiled for choices. So you could go to number of special sessions, workshop you can choose. At one point, I was like, where do you choose? Because every scenario, every workshop has got its own merit, it's got its own experience. And if you don't go this one, you feel like you left out. But it was an interesting experience. And that's something that even the people who have attended, they can attest to that, and something that we're taking with us in our different perspective or countries. Now, coming here, we had a couple of assumptions, right? So we have to unlock planning theories and practice. This is the assumption that we have. So the question is, how far are we with these assumptions? And from my experience personally, some of the assumptions that we have actually, especially when we're talking about the technologies and the communities, and you also see this through the tracts, you realize that actually the experience that we're experiencing or the ideas that we have is linked closer to what we've proposed. So the tracts that we come up with, they are not completely off, because you can see the narratives and the theories, you know. There are a lot of things that we talk about smart cities from a theoretical perspective, and you go to one of the case studies, they start showing us the infrastructure that we have which respond to the technology within the city. So those are some of the issues. And of course, we have to revise our ideas regarding the mode of shaping places. How do we then shape places going forward? What does this mean going forward? And what is it that we've learned from these different tracks? So those are some of the issues that we had when we were coming here, some of the assumptions, and some of them, they were proven differently. We can see actually that it's no longer just about theory, but there's also some areas of improvement here and there. Thank you very much.
So, now we would like to come to the track reports, and let me invite all the members of the team who are in place, who are here present. I have to say that unfortunately not everybody was able to travel, not because they were not willing to, but because basically their home institutions or home governments were not allowing them to travel. So unfortunately we couldn't have everybody, which I'm very sorry about, but I hope that each and everybody of them is listening to us right now and is able to participate in this online mode. But now let me invite to the stage each of the track members from the particular tracks. The track number 1 is Inclusiveness and Empowerment, also called Al-Majlis, Planning with and for Communities. So let me invite our colleagues Rajendra, Kumar, Matej, Niksic, and Dr. Ammar Abulibdeh, if he is also with us. Can you please come over and deliver your presentation? Now, just a little thing regarding the new format. I mean, I have to tell you, after a year and a half online, we realized that having too many slides doesn't help in understanding. So we have decided not to produce any slides, which is actually gonna, Martin, I see your face, which is actually gonna not really help you maybe understanding the message, but actually is gonna help you focus on the presenters. And also what is very important is that it may encourage you to read the Congress report, which is 1,500 pages or so. So I very much encourage you to do so. Matej and Rajendra, floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Piotr. It has been wonderful time with you all, colleague over here. Me, on behalf of Matej, and we had a very, very nice time over here. Though this is not my first time in Doha, I had been before here, but this time when I am going back, it feels like very emotional. So me and Matej, we chaired 6 sessions. Track 1, Inclusiveness and Empowerment, Al-Majlis, Planning with and for Communities. The key takeaways are inclusiveness and community participation is a key factor for any intelligent urbanism. City is for citizen, by citizen. planners and governors should be there to reinforce and support the citizen. So that is the key. I mean, the city is for citizen. What we have discussed in these 4 days of deliberation and 2 days before coming here in Doha, participatory planning is a part of many official planning procedure across the globe, but in many cases it stays rather formal and keep communities out of meaningful involvement. New policies are needed as well as more political courage for a truly democratic decision making to take place and empower local communities. Empowering communities is much more than simply giving people the word. It's not only taking the input and suggestions by community. I think we should also implement the suggestions by community. It is equally important to listen to them and hear them, as well as about educating skill rising that will enable each member of community to get actively involved in the participatory citizenship. Such process must be well thought and moderated, and this is where we as an urban planner can play our role. So we are becoming a catalyst for this. This also demands the development of new tools and approaches that will allow to tailor the participatory approaches to concentrate context, their needs, challenges, and opportunity. Public spaces as common spaces keep playing an outstanding role in the empowerment. It is about the time we stop beautification of the city for its own sake, which happens through top-down public spaces improvement. Rather, take the opportunity to make public spaces the podium for a truly democratic approach to how local community can decide themselves on their future and co-design in a hands-on manner. The Congress presentation and debates, however, showed that the future is not grim at all. Many inspiring cases were shared from different parts of the globe and showed the encouraging state of the art from both practical and theoretical point of view. Many communities as well as stakeholders across the globe are aware of the need of inclusive urbanism and finding their ways to reach further. Let's keep this strong determination for putting the human being and community into focus to move closer to ideas of fully equal and inclusive city. And again, the last point which I said in the beginning, city is for citizen and by citizen. Thanks you, Doha. Thank you, LOC. Thank you, all colleagues from across the world. Thank you, Piotr, and thank you, Ho, for giving us the opportunity for being with you. Thank you, all ISOCARP community. It was a pleasure to add a piece into mosaic of reflection on the inclusive urbanism together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Big applause to Rajendra and Matej. And we are going to call you back on stage at the very end to take the group picture, okay? So now track 2, well-being and health. Let me invite Serin Geambazu and Dr. Mohuiddin Jamaleddin. Also, we have Laura Verdelli, who was participating online, unfortunately only. As I said, not everybody was able to travel. So, Serin, Mohuiddin, floor is yours, please.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Salam alaikum. Unlock planning through well-being and health. We have to be aware that health cannot be guaranteed only by health services. Well-being and health in its physical, mental, and social aspects were and remain vital components of how we further shape our cities. Urban planning and spatial planning have a crucial role and can be applied to structural but also emergency times in terms of monitoring pollution and prevention of diseases, but also supply healthy environments and happy conditions of living for all citizens. The two challenges combined, COVID-19 crisis and also rapid urbanization, made us raise again fundamental questions about housing, remembering Habitat 2. This is made, but also rethinking urban living conditions. Environmental friendly solutions, biophilic design, climate resilience,
through material aspects, but also prioritizing improvement of neighborhoods, amenities, and providing public services for the new human-centric developments were key takeaways of Track 2. We want to see kids playing safe in the streets. A new urban planning logic beyond this health crisis has to incorporate systemic approach and an urban management perspective, taking into consideration infrastructure of green spaces, but also accessibility, equitable distribution, and its attractivity for all types of citizens, children, disabled, elderly, and so on. Active urban design concepts, runnable cities, why not, and behavioral change towards sustainable lifestyles are crucial for the way forward. We may not have achieved a paradigm shift, a total paradigm shift, but I think we have done a lot and very well in mobilizing critical will, in tackling health and well-being problems in the urban sector with mobilization of expert individual level and institutional level.
Great. I will continue where my colleague Serin stopped with Track 2, that it is called under the name Well-being and Health. But do you know under this Congress, it's also named as Al-Fraj. Al-Fraj in the Gulf region means the district or the neighborhood that have a good bonding relationship between families. In this track, the approaches follows in how to create high-quality places for the people to live, work, and play in a good environment. A place toward healthy, happy, and walkable city. Learning from the best practices case study and papers chosen that display similar urban conditions that Qatar faces today. But the good thing is that Qatar has a wide vision supported by top authority under the name of Qatar Vision 2030. This Qatar Vision has 4 main development pillars: the human, the social, the economic, and the environment. Some of the local participants in this track present a local Qatari experience in dealing with such projects as rethinking of the Qatari neighborhood with the new form-based coding that respects the identity of Qatar, and this is done by ambitious Qatari young local generation. Another issue discussed in this session is about the urban green spaces and the best urban design practices followed in one of the recepts in Qatar to cope with the pandemic. Accordingly, the local participants demonstrate the strategic planning framework for the Qatar FIFA World Cup 2022, the legacy plan, from hosting international sports events to the creation of the community-oriented, active, and healthy urban environment. And finally, the indoor air quality in educational facilities has been also addressed and presented within this track. In Qatar, there is a starting for producing knowledge, as Dr. Ali previously said, based on the ongoing projects, not only on the urban planning and architectural project, but also through the healthcare contribution, as the Research Center of Diseases at Hamad Hospital, and the ongoing research at Qatar University and the Education City. Thank you very much. This is our summary.
Thank you so much. Big applause for our team and also for the colleague who is not with us. Okay, now let me invite team from Track 3, Smartness and Development. The subtitle for that is Al-Suk, Innovating for Performance and Management. We have Lorraine Gonzales, who is also online with us. Unfortunately, she was not able to travel. Alex Antonov. Alex, please come over. And Dr. Fodil Fadli. I hope Dr. Moht is also with us today. So please present the outcomes of your track.
Hello, everybody. On behalf of my colleague Lorraine and me, I would give you a brief result of the track number 3, titled Smartness and Development. In this track, we were focused on transformation in the ways of planning and the planner's way of mind. Facing new challenges like climate change or COVID-19, we still use traditional planning instruments like master plans or functional zoning. At the same time, GIS technology is remote sensors, and growing data sets give us new opportunities for analyzing, modeling, forecasting, and managing the space. Virtual sessions in October addressed various methods of collaborative planning, city-rural planning, explored various data and IT models and software used to analyze existing communities and modeling the future ones. Papers under virtual session number 3 2 days ago addressed relationships between the public and private partnerships in the infrastructure financing development or value planning effect on a city economy. New concepts like incremental planning, visual planning, or planning driven by nature were discussed in person yesterday and today on 2 sessions. We were talking a lot about smartness in planning. Started with the workshop at the Sharif district that is really the smart project. We made sure that smartness is not only informational technology or sensors or even reduction of energy consumption. Smartness is a comprehensive approach that may be considered from the different points of view, depend on state, location, natural conditions, or legislation, and implementation models. Perhaps we do not need the unique definition of smart city yet, but we need, of course, to establish the common language to talk about it. In any case, smart cities claim for smart planning and smart planners. The virtual, in-person, and hybrid sessions probably did not give us exhaustive answers to all questions that we face in our work, but started interdisciplinary and cross-border discussions that may help planners avoid copy-paste of fashion or vanity approaches in planning and link planning itself, plan implementation, and the construction process on the way towards smart and sustainable environment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, track number 4. We have here 2 people who are basically online. The track number 4 is resilience and adaptability. The local name for that, Al-Waha, promoting local solutions. And here we had Pedro Garcia and Hanna Obracht-Prondzynska. Both of our colleagues are unfortunately not with us here today. But we have a perfect addition to the team, Kate Holmquist, who is secretary of our scientific committee, and our colleague representing the local planning community, Fodil Fadli, who is coming from the Qatar University. So please, floor is yours.
Thank you, and hello everyone. So I'm just going to briefly speak, but our track 4, Resilience and Adaptability, is aptly titled. So in the absence of our colleagues who are virtually present, myself and my local colleague were able to step in here, and I want him to reflect on our track experiences. So amid crises, mitigation really must make way for resilience and adaptability, and change needs to happen now and at the local level. And the sessions that we were able to chair together really demonstrated the importance of that local context and the change that is going to make progress against global action and global agendas.
Thank you, Kate. I would like to elaborate on that. I'm working with Qatar University in the Department of Architecture and Urban Planning, and I'm very pleased to be here in ISOCARP. This is my first time in the ISOCARP Congress, and I've been a resident in Doha since August 2019, and definitely there is going to be... Okay, sorry about it. there is a lot of things that I can bring back to the classroom, to the design studio for the benefit of the Qatari students in our program. Having said that, I think as we all aware, Doha is rapidly developing, and of course we all know the Vision 2020 is right there for all of us to together help Qatar to achieve its vision and mission. And I believe this particular venue, Musharraf Downtown, is a very fine example of Qatar showing its urban planning and urban design at its best. So I'm very glad to be here. And to elaborate a little bit more about the tracks or sessions that we have been co-chaired with my partner, Kate, I think we have altogether 6 tracks, and 20 papers were presented here physically. I think we have 2 virtual sessions. And the papers are very, I would say, very diversified. So we have case studies from Tokyo to Los Angeles, from Brussels to Bangalore, for example. We have researchers, presenters talk about green coin to smart regeneration ecosystems. We have someone who talk about net zero carbon all the way to the implementation of nature-based solutions. There are presenters talk about environmental stewardship and new urban deal. So I think there are a lot of things as residents in Qatar and also Qatar in general that we can learn from all these things. But we need collaboration. So we have to bring all the stakeholders on board. In summary, as more and more resilient strategies are emerging, we now realize that we are also dealing with explosion of data. For example, just to say a few, big data analytics and geoinformation systems. Hence, the use of digital applications are a necessity now in order to streamline a foolproof resilient strategies. We see almost in all papers about this. However, don't forget that all these are for us, we the human being. In this regard, whatever the strategies or the approaches or the location or the area, we must always take into considerations the human factor in the decision making. In short, based on the tracks and the paper presented, all emergent resilient strategies need to be a global, local resilient solutions for the sake of humanity. With that, I thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And now track 5, uniqueness and connectivity. This was also nicknamed Al-Baraha Unlocking Urban Futures. And we had probably here the biggest delegation because we have got Olga Czepilanskaya, Francois Vienne, who joined us online, Nassim Iran Manesh, who is with us, Dr. Mark David Meyer also being with us, the representative of the local team, and as a colleague who joined on a last-minute basis, Professor Sofia Morgado, she was also participating. So I guess Olga and Mark are going to present, so please, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Piotr. So Mark and I will say a few words on behalf of all the track co-chairs. So as all the other tracks, we started with virtual attendance, and then we are here in Doha, where we experimented quite successfully the hybrid mode of presenting and interacting. We also had a chance to collaborate with local counterparts, which was very enriching. And it was great to chair a number of sessions together with Dr. Mark. In the track, we also experienced the workshop as all the other tracks, and Mark is the best person to say a few words about it.
Thank you, Olga. Yeah, the Qatar Rail workshop was a really interesting event. It focused on Doha, of course. We kicked off the workshop with a couple of keynote addresses on transit-oriented development, and then proceeded into research papers looking at specific criteria to analyze TOD, but also case studies here in Doha. Then there was a break before we headed out, and we visited 3 stations, Musharraf, Al-Sad Station, and Bin Mahmoud Station, before coming back and having a quick charrette about how we could activate the spaces around these stations here in Doha. And I would definitely say the key takeaway was designing and planning for people. That was the key takeaway from every group. So that really concludes about the workshop. I just want to add very quickly, I'm glad to have participated in this, and I am so proud to see so many Qatar University students and graduates who are both participating and presenting at this Congress. So well done, Qatar University representatives.
A few more takeaways, key points that we have discussed with the nearly 50 presentations that we had throughout our 6 sessions. The importance of compact cities, there was a clear convergence towards that, and the benefits that compact cities provide, such as reducing heat island effect, creating better interaction between citizens and visitors, better shading, more diverse activities. Another takeaway was the importance of integrated and interactive diverse public places. Through collected quantitative and qualitative data, presenters' research and practice demonstrated a large preference for such spaces across cities and across countries. Heritage was highlighted as to play a key role in cities' development, as it sets the tone for a unique urban fabric of today, creates a sense of belonging, and attracts visitors. We discussed challenges related to reviving heritage assets in cities, such as a lack of regulations to protect modern 20th century heritage, such as the need of improving infrastructure services and mobility in heritage areas, or incrementally connecting today's urban fabric to its historic cores. Importantly, we discussed action undertaken to achieve a radical shift to the way we build cities today, to achieve vibrant, sustainable, and inclusive cities. For example, we discussed a number of tools that can help us facilitate this transition. We looked at an example, and these are just a couple of examples to be here for the limit of time. We discussed a motorway which currently accommodates up to 600,000 cars, which is planning to reduce this load by half to the benefit of public places, of green places, and increasing interaction between people on the way. We looked at the example of the Qatar National Landscape Design Guidelines in progress, and they highlighted once again the importance of city design guidelines to make our urban fabric sustainable and livable, so that climate resilience, so that sustainability, so that interaction between people can be properly planned ahead and all stakeholders work in the same direction. In conclusion, we highly appreciated the symbolic location of the Congress at the heart of Doha downtown, which resulted from an in-depth thinking and research on how could a unique local architectural and design language take place and see light today to create new cities. So we look forward as Track 5 to continue this dialogue during the next ISOCARP Congress, and we also hope to see our hosts there and continue interacting with them.
Thank you so much. And now we are going to sum up the rest of the Congress activities, and then we are going to invite all the colleagues back to stage. Dear colleagues, this was the report from the track, but the tracks was not everything. We had so many different activities that I could not even mention all of them, including the new format, which was called workshops, on-site workshops, with a lot of the colleagues both representing local community and the international coordinators as well. Thank you very much for organizing that. We had YPP workshop. I can still see Zeynep here and some of the YPPs who fantastically developed one of the interesting topics which was put in front of them. And so much more, as we call it sometimes, right? So this was quite a lot of the different things. But basically, what are the really key takeaways which come from this Congress? First of all, that we have to highlight some new planning concepts: governance, communities, mobility, work environment, urban form and quality of space. Well, you can say nothing of that is new, but I think we need a new approach to each and every one of those. And this is a very important thing, okay? I mean, the old problems are there, the old issues are there, but we need new solutions. We need to rethink them, okay? And that was basically one of the key takeaways from this Congress, that we need those new planning concepts for the old problems and for the old issues. This is, I think, extremely important from that point of view. So that actually means that we need a new planning agenda. That means we need to redefine the mode of planning. You know, I mean, I purposely picked this little picture here, which some of you might have remembered from one of the field trips. It's actually an image of the fantastic stadium that was built for FIFA World Championship. But if you look closer, you can see that this is like a mosaic which is put together not only to represent the infrastructure but also the people. But also if you look even closer, you can actually see that each of those pixels is actually a face of the person who contributed towards building this fantastic new infrastructure. This is extremely important. We cannot look only from top down. We have to also look from bottom up. We also have to look at those the most little elements of the whole development machine, of the whole city building machine, because that really matters. Okay? So people really matter. So that we have to redefine the mode of planning also to deal with these things. Secondly, that means that we should look for the new principles and rules, which are important in the new times, in the post-COVID times, which we still don't know how they are going to look like. But we know one thing for sure. The world is going to be different. Okay? So we still don't have all the answers, Your Excellencies, but we at least started to ask questions. And as they say in the old Chinese proverb, every journey starts with the first trip. I think, with the first step. I think that we have made this first step and this is a big step forward. And finally, the new scope of planning, which includes also not obvious aspects of the development, which means we are not only speaking about inclusiveness, resilience, and so on, but we have to speak about the more, I would say, hidden or absent from the agenda issues. Like an example, implementation, financing, the mode of and the type of the economic development. I'm referring to our keynote speaker, Klaus Kunzmann, who actually pointed out that quite importantly during his presentation. I think this is extremely important thing. This is another leg on which we are standing. No? We have people, we have space, but we also have implementation procedures. Okay? And doesn't matter how they will be shaped, it is extremely important that they are going to be here present. And finally, we do need a lot of the new approach to knowledge exchange and education improvement. So that means we need to redefine the planning education. I mean, planners are not engineers only. I mean, we need planners, of course, as engineers. We need engineers. But planning is so much more, as they say in some countries. Okay? Planning is so much more than just economic or social geography. Planning is putting all those things together and shaping the new city futures, the new regional futures, using all these concepts which we have in mind. And we have to learn. Also in this, stadium place which we have been visiting and learning from our colleagues how the whole thing was developed. It was a fantastic lesson for learning about how the new concepts can be implemented on site with the people who made it. We also need a constant debate and learning from each other. That means that, as Dwight Eisenhower once said, plans are nothing, but planning is everything. And that's what we have to keep in mind. And finally, we have to learn both ways. We have to learn from our colleague, an old engineer who actually was manager of this building site, who guided us with fantastic passion through this place, and explained so many different aspects of functioning and developing of this infrastructure that you would probably never think about. So this is just a little example showing how the whole thing is gonna look like. Okay? And now, before I invite each and every one of the team participants to come back to the stage for the group picture, I would also like to say that this learning from both global and local has a very practical local dimension. We have engaged, as you could see, our local colleagues to serve as the local track members, local team members, local co-rapporteurs, whatever is the proper name. And now I would like to invite Mr. Abdul Rahman Almana, who is an urban planner at the Ministry of the Municipality, to deliver his reflection on the key takeaways which can be taken away from the Congress, from all the sessions, for making Doha even better. Mr. Abdul Rahman, please come join us. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Piotr, for that wonderful introduction. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Abdurrahman Hamid al-Mana. I'm an urban planner at the Ministry of Municipality and a recent graduate from Cornell University's College of Architecture, Art and Planning. It brings me great pleasure and honor to present on behalf of the Ministry of Municipality and as a young Qatari planner interested in making Qatar cities a model to be followed globally. Not only did the knowledge and expertise shared in this Congress offer us a lot to work with and build off of, but we hope that the Qatari experience is something to be learned from and modeled after as well. Within Track 1 on inclusiveness and empowerment, important points were raised on inclusive spatial planning, involving and empowering key stakeholders in sustainability. These points stress the needs of localizing solutions to important issues in our urban environment. The Qatar National Development Framework's policies and policy actions are built on empowering stakeholders to become key players in the planning process. Within Track 2, in well-being and health, extensive discussions were had on the renovation and rehabilitation of housing and the role of green, open, and recreational spaces. These key takeaways will play a fundamental role in the implementation of the Qatar National Housing Strategy and the National Strategy for Open and Recreational Spaces. Within the third track, in smartness and development, participants both questioned the meaning of smartness and the pursuit of the Smart City title by municipalities all over the world. The venue which hosted us over the last 4 days, Msherab, provides a model that is unique to Doha's historical and geographical context. We hope to expand Msherab's sphere of influence into the surrounding urban contexts. Within Track 4, in resilience and adaptability, participants stressed that urgent action must be taken to develop flexible and resilient planning frameworks to respond to the changing climatic conditions globally. Here in Qatar, through our climate change strategy, we hope to become a guide to our neighboring countries on the best practices and approach to tackle climate change. Within Track 5, in uniqueness and connectivity, interesting urban design solutions to enhance public spaces and last-mile connectivity prove that Qatar's hierarchy of urban centers and world-class metro system can create transit-oriented developments and achieve walkability regardless of climatic conditions. On behalf of the Ministry of Municipality, I'd like to thank all of you for bringing your unique perspective to the Congress and enriching these discussions. And in turn, I hope that we have enriched your experience at this Congress. Thank you so much.
Well, just final reflection before I invite all the team members back to the stage. During the lockdown period, we had long discussions and meetings with different colleagues and so on. And I can still remember 2 or 3 periods from just from before the lockdown and from the lockdown. I can still remember in Jakarta during our last in-person Congress when Martina Juvara was standing on my place and she started with, you know what, when I was contacted by the EXCO asking whether can I accept the job of the General Rapporteur, the first question she asked, why me? Will I do the job? I remember that very well from that moment. Then when on the November night of 2019, Frank called me and said, do you want the job? I immediately said yes. And you know what? It was worth doing that. It was horrible work, lots of endless nights. Nia knows all these emails sent at 3 o'clock a.m. But basically, it was a fantastic journey. I would like to thank each and every one of my team members, of my colleagues, of our staff members, Nian, Federico, and all the other colleagues who have been working with us all the time. Without you, this wouldn't be the job. And I just hope that my successors, that everybody who will be serving on the team again, will be able to enjoy this hard job equally as I did. Thank you so much for your trust. Thank you so much for your hard work. And thank you so much for being together in person again. Please come to the stage. We need you. So So let's take a group picture, and before everybody assembles, just a final personal observation. Your Excellencies, I have to say thank you very much for organizing this fantastic event. I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, this is one of the best Congress I have attended ever. Thank you so much for making this an exceptional time. May we ask Nian if she is with us? Oh yes, and of course, please. Nian, please. And all the local co-rapporteurs, also please come and join us if you are with us. Please, we need you. Well, thank you so much. I think this is time for Kate right now to come over with the Doha Declaration.
So, but Piotr, please stay here.
Yeah, you told me, so that's
I told you, yes. So, I think it was mentioned, but I represent the scientific committee. I'm honored to be the deputy chair, and that means also that I'm here representing our dear chair and esteemed colleague, Duško Bogunović. I hope I pronounced that right. And the scientific committee is charged with a monumental task, but one that we take seriously and that we are actually excited about, which is to engage with those really big global planning, you know, the future of planning, essentially. So we are there to engage outwardly and inwardly in dialogue with our colleagues and to bring people together on these topics and to affect change, right? And so part of the tradition of the conference each year is that the scientific committee engages with the Congress team and with the rapporteurs in preparing and drafting a declaration. And this year is a very different year, last year as well, and these are different times. The climate has changed, and we need to declare a climate emergency. We need radical change, and there's opportunity for radical transformation. This is a declaration like no other, and these are the words of the declaration. Mobilization is needed at the global scale, and action is needed at the local level. And this will look different in the global north and the global south. This declaration is never meant to capture the entire contents of the Congress or to repeat it. Rather, it's meant to comprise lessons for the future and takeaways. So in this declaration this year, we're appealing to the planning community and to our partners because action must take place jointly and by everyone. And we're appealing to planners not to just realize or to acknowledge, but to advocate for the critical role of cities in our multiple crises and for the power of city and regional planning to be the solution, to unlock planning. So I want to thank again Piotr Lorens, Hope Magidimisha, as our rapporteurs, and the participants of the Congress, because the Congress is about coming together and knowledge sharing, and this declaration is really meant to reflect all of our futures and all of our work. And I can say in attending this conference, I can really be confident in saying we are unlocking planning. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Piotr. Thank you, Kate. Now we'll be having a short video of Ms. Laura Pietera, Chief of Planning, Finance and Economy Section in UN Habitat.
Distinguished guests, partners, friends, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you all. I'm delighted to share this video with you on behalf of UN Habitat at the closing ceremony of the 57th ISOCARP World Planning Congress. My name is Laura Petrella, and I am the focal point within UN Habitat for the engagement with ISOCARP. Participants have heard and shared this week from and with the world's planning professional on how to unlock and build back better cities and community, to rethink together how to deliver a lasting and sustainable recovery from the current crisis of our cities. It is our regret that UN Habitat could not be there in person, but I understand that participants have learned and shared effectively and with commitment to identify innovative and effective responses. As UN Habitat, we are working to address the recovery from the pandemic while also addressing key priorities, such as the climate crisis. A key approach that we are taking is to work to elevate urban and territorial planning as the key tools for sustainable development. This effort is one in which we very much welcome the long-term partnership with ISOCARP and hope to continue to jointly work to develop strong messages and policy advice and to illustrate impact and opportunities. Indeed, it is critical that we rethink, with an urban and territorial approach, the five key groups of issues that the Congress has addressed: inclusiveness and empowerment, well-being and health, smartness and development, resilience and adaptability, and uniqueness and connectivity. All of them have been impacted by the pandemic and become critical for recovery and to address climate change as well. Yet, as the Congress has shown us, while we have many ideas and solutions, bringing them to scale and integrating them effectively remains a major challenge. We need all hands on deck to move from the lessons we are learning and the innovation we are testing to scale and impact. In the past few years, and actually these 2 years in particular, UN Habitat has launched the source book, Integrating Health into Urban and Territorial Planning, together with the World Health Organization. Already that work, which had started well before the pandemic, showed how urban planning can work to achieve health outcomes and how urban spaces can support or undermine healthy communities, and how the sectoral concern related to health can and should be integrated in the work of planners. So earlier this year, we also launched the report Cities and Pandemic, which actually looks at the urban, local, spatial dimension of the pandemic to learn from them with a view of reassessing the development paradigm and the tools that we utilize. Looking from the perspective of this work and the work that is ongoing, the discussion during this Congress and on the learning and experience that have been shared have provided incredibly rich materials and ideas, and additional clarity on what can be the contributors and planners to the future of cities and settlement. Reflecting on the past 18 plus months of pandemic, but also looking ahead at a recovery which will need to be better and more sustainable, the Congress has demonstrated that there are good new ideas, but also strong examples of relevant intervention and practices and expertise that can be put to task. There is already a body of further knowledge that is being built. The coming month will be exciting and extremely challenging. The urgency of doing the right thing is clear. The stakes of wasting time and opportunities are very high. There is a new attention globally to urban development and to the role of cities in development. And this is confirmed also by the recently released report of the Secretary General of the United Nations, Our Common Agenda, where the role of local authorities in a new multilateralism is stressed, and the issues of sustainability and a new social contract, as well as a new common good, are discussed and is identified as crucial. UN Habitat is committed to healthier and more sustainable urbanization, and we support the application of long and short-term intervention towards a healthier and climate-neutral urban environments. And in particular, we are committed to ensure that the national, local leaders and professionals can access the knowledge, the guidance, and the tools to integrate health and well-being in their urban development decision and plans, and expand the relationship between actors involved in urbanization. We also support and will support more and more the reform of planning system and the adoption of planning solutions that can integrate present concerns with the traditional planning processes, and are determined to make a difference in how planning is done and it is conducted in our cities and regions. We also will support cities to monitor and evaluate how urban form and activities, and in particular public space and housing, impact the quality of life and other development outcomes in order to optimize their quality and their contribution. These are all indeed areas where ISOCARP and the ISOCARP members and the participants to this Congress are already producing knowledge and idea. This Congress has been an excellent showcase of this. We therefore call on all participants and on ISOCARP colleagues in particular to further document and apply this lesson and to build partnerships to put ideas into action. We all need planners and planning to live up to the challenges and to participate in the public debate, while also pursuing excellence and innovation in their works and research. Ladies and gentlemen, looking forward to continue this together, I congratulate the organizers, the host government, and all participants for a great 57th ISOCARP World Planning Congress, and celebrate the joint efforts to build our cities better and stronger. Looking forward to continuing the collaboration. I thank you very much for the opportunity to address this audience. Thank you.
Now I'd like to invite Mr. Frank Dont and Mr. Pietro Elise for their few closing remarks.
Hello to you all. Place matters. I mean, after all, we're planners, right? Place first and place matters. So the first closing remark I would like to make before handing it over to our newly inaugurated president of the International Society of City and Regional Planners last night, I will just say Mohuiddin was a perfect location for this Congress. It fulfilled all the criteria that we have for a ISOCARP conference. We are not coming together just in a conference hall. We are coming together in a part of the city. And it's a part of the city that is a watershed project trying to connect, let's say, two different kind of cities. The old city, the souk, the low density city, but also the high-rise city, the Manhattan of Doha. So we have seen, the evolution, and we have discussed also the potential of Mohuiddin as a landmark in changing the shape of the city and its use.
Thank you, Frank. Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to put in evidence the numbers of this Congress. We had 650 people registered to this Congress, and more than 200 people in person. So I would say that from the point of view of organizing a hybrid Congress, this was a very successful one. And all this considering the COVID restrictions. So imagine what we can do as a community in the normal circumstances, just for the next Congress to be kept in mind.
Next point in terms of closing remarks, we're not actually finished yet with this part, but it's your hospitality. Doha, Qatar, Ministry of Municipalities and Environment. This was a new golden standard of hospitality. It's not just the hospitality, it's also the feeling of safety. Free to walk around in the city, move from one place to another place, taking the metro. You even gave us the cards to move around freely, literally. It also, transpired into walking women in the city and sharing their ideas without any fear for harassment. We had a group, we made history. Not only with the women in planning, but also with running in the city. We have now also established a ISOCARP running team, and I'm sure it will grow over time, but it will need a safe city as yours.
Well, actually, do not consider me in the team because I'm not a good runner anyway. I would like to go back to the topic of the title, Planning Unlocked. And I think we succeeded, no? In making what we want to do, to bring back the knowledge and experience of urban planners back into the discussion of the urban transformations. And the participants and the team of coordinators and the general rapporteur, they were really giving us the essence of all the discussion. We were capable to cover the most important issue we have to consider now in the contemporary cities. Inclusiveness, the urbanization, the issues related to climate change, the way to make our cities more healthy, and how to deal with resilience, the digital transition, and how to improve urban and territorial governance, and to have our cities a little bit more smart, maybe it is enough clever. But all these topics have been considered in this Congress.
Yeah, there is so much to unpack and to unlock of what has been presented and discussed here. I like the idea that Piotr presented to us of the new planning agenda. I think we are writing the first chapter, the introduction of that planning agenda. It will be a long process, but you have given a lot of feedback. You all, including the keynote speakers, even the ones that started in the online pre-Congress, because don't forget, this is another landmark in congressing. We had a first hybrid Congress that started with a virtual part, then continued in an in-person part, but also during the in-person we had online sessions. So it is also in that perspective a new landmark. What I just want to add in terms of outcomes for me is that we are actually also reinventing the smart city by adding kind of territorial collective intelligence, and that is transforming into the wise city. Yeah? And I think it's more social, inclusive, integrated than a pure technological approach, because as we have learned from Klaus, technology will not solve everything, and also not only looking at specific sectors, including just looking at nature. It has to be really integrated. Thank you.
Yes, yes. And I would like even to link to the presentation of Professor Kunzmann. In one of the slides was a very small word on the corner that was taking my attention. Co-opetition, so something between competition and cooperation. I think this is really the hybrid concept that we have to consider in planning the cities, because it is important to give room to these two aspects, but even in ruling our society, for me and you in the next year, no? To make our members compete, but even to train them to understand that cooperating is better than simply competing. So, and we will work to find the way in between. And now to our splendid hosts. We hope to continue to collaborate with you. I mean, with you, with your people, with your institutions, and we look at this Congress in Doha, and we look at Doha as a gate and hub for these regions. We want to continue to collaborate with you, and we hope you have the same feeling. So you are our hub.
So in further developing the new planning agenda, I'm sure that Doha Qatar, the ministry, all the partners involved, the industry, the university, other stakeholders will help us writing the next chapter, yes, while we also are looking forward to move to Brussels and to add some more chapters. I think in terms of the next Congress and the next topic to be revealed soon, there are a lot of interesting takeaways here, yes. I heard things like the city as a gym, yes. A city that is walkable doesn't need so many hospitals. So maybe there are some interesting takeaways for our next Congress, and one of the most important chapters that will be on health, right? So I think we can leave it here, because we still need a little bit of time to do the proper handover, and of course to ask also our host for some closing words. Thank you so much to everybody, and hope to see you all soon, wherever in the world. We are doing many activities, but of course also to see you soon in Brussels.
Thank you very much.
Now we'd like to leave the floor for Mr. Mbarak Naimi, Head of Local Organizing Committee, and his closing words, please.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السيدات والسادة، ضيوف قطر، تسارعت الساعات والأيام وأصبحنا في اليوم الأخير للمؤتمر، وكنا نتمنى أن تطول المدة لنسعد بوجودكم وتفاعلكم ومداخلاتكم وخبراتكم الفريدة في مجالات العمران والتخطيط والتنمية. إننا سعداء بالتعاون مع منظمة آيزوكارب، ونشكرهم على إتاحة الفرصة لنا لاستضافة المؤتمر، ونشكرهم على تبادل الخبرات والمعرفة، ونتمنى لهذه العلاقة أن تستمر وتتطور في المستقبل. لقد تعايشنا معا لمدة 4 أيام من الحوارات الفنية واللقاءات العلمية والتعرف على التوجهات الجديدة في العمران والتخطيط، كما تفاعلنا مع مجموعة مميزة من الورش الفنية والزيارات الميدانية التي قدمت لضيوف قطر مجموعة من التجارب التي تعكس رحلة قطر في التحول إلى دولة تتبنى مدخلاً عمرانياً يرتكز على اقتصاد المعرفة ومفاهيم المدن الصحية والذكية وعلاء قيمة الإنسان وجودة الحياة. أخواتي وإخواني، دعوني أتوقف أمام موضوعين هامين. الأول، أنه على الرغم من كل الظروف الصعبة والضغوط والتحديات وتداعيات جائحة كورونا، تمكنت دولة قطر ومدينة الدوحة واللجنة المحلية المنظمة من تحقيق ما لم يكن متوقعاً، بل وتخوف منه البعض. الحمد لله أن ردود أفعال جميع من حضر المؤتمر هو الإشادة بتجربة استضافة مدينة الدوحة للمؤتمر، وأنه كان بالفعل نجاحاً لنا جميعاً. ونؤكد مرة أخرى أننا نوفي بالعهد وبأعلى مستويات الإتقان والجودة. الموضوع الثاني أن هذا المؤتمر جعلنا نكتشف الكثير عن هذا الجزء من العالم، وجعلنا نوضح لكم أن الكوادر المحلية القطرية تملك الكثير من القدرات لعمل مساهمات عالمية متميزة، ولكن الأكثر أهمية أن واحداً من أسباب كل ما شاهدتموه واختبرتوه في هذا المؤتمر هو الكوادر المحلية، ومنها نموذج الشباب القطري المحب لوطنه. إنني أنتهز الفرصة لأشكرهم ليس فقط لما قدموه للمؤتمر، ولكن والأهم أنهم قدموا نموذجاً رائعاً للشباب القطري المحافظ على هويته وتقاليده، وفي الوقت ذاته يبدعون مثل باقي زملائهم وزميلاتهم، وهم من كان لهم النصيب الأكبر في إنجاح هذا المؤتمر. ويسرني أن أذكرهم اسماً شكراً وعرفاناً لهم: الأخت مريم زينل، آمنة الجابر، السوفك، عبد الرحمن المانع، فاطمة البدر، منى نور الدين، محي الدين، عائشة الكواري، وعائشة الكبيسي، ناصر الملا، نور السويدي، جواهر الزيني، منير الجربوعي، منى عبد الخالق، صوفي هايكان، هاريني، هبة نور الدين، مشاعل الجاسم، تماضر الصالات، عائشة الكعبي، دكتور العزيز، علي عبد الرؤوف، سيد منور، ودلال الباكر، ولولوة الخاطر، ولولوة الكواري، آمنة الجهني، والدكتور حسام إبراهيم، نور الحميدي، جاسم سرور، سودة بكر، فاطمة المري، وعيسى المقبل، وخالد الهديفي. أشكرهم على أدائهم وتميزهم. نحن سعداء أننا نحن سعداء أننا أوفينا بالعهد وتشرفنا باستضافة المؤتمر واستضفناكم في بلدكم الثاني قطر. نتمنى أن تكون تجربتكم معنا سبباً لمزيد من الزيارات والتفاعل معنا. أشكركم وأتمنى لكم كل التوفيق، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Now I shall say that it is with a great honor that we concluded the 57th ISOCARP World Planning Congress by inviting to the stage our colleagues from Brussels to begin the handover process. We wish you all the best of luck hosting the 58th World Planning Congress and hope to meet you all once again in Brussels.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and dear colleagues, it is indeed a very big honor for me to be with you today and this evening. And on behalf of the Brussels capital region, I'm indeed very thankful to the ISOCARP board and to have chosen Brussels as the host city for the ISOCARP 58th World Planning Congress. And I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the local organization committee of Doha and our Qatari colleagues for the magnificent Congress they have organized this year. You have indeed set a new level of standards, of quality standards, and we will do all our very best efforts to maintain that same level next year. I would like to apologize to Minister Pascal Smet, our regional state secretary in charge of urbanism and international affairs. He could not come to Doha, but he has a message for you that you will see just now.
Hello Doha. What a pity I can't be with you today in order to announce the venue of the next ISOCARP conference in 2022. It will be in Brussels. And as you know, or might know, Brussels is the #1 city of diversity in Europe. We are the #1 city of international associations, organizations, diplomatic representations. We are a real meeting city. And which is even more important, we are a city without a dominant culture. We are truly cosmopolitan. And as you know, the theme of next year will be from wealthy to healthy cities, and the role that urbanism and planning can play in that. Brussels is a medium-scale city, 1.2 million inhabitants, and as I said, from different origin. And it's a city that's still growing. It's also a young city. And as the pandemic has proven to us, it is so important that cities become healthy in all ways. As you know, in a city, it's important that you have people, of course, that you have buildings, that you have public space, and the interaction between these three. And in a healthy city, this interaction is perfect. That means that you have good public space, that you have a lot of green space, and that with the climate heating, it's important that you can cool down in a city. So the urban planning, not only from one street, a quarter, a borough, on the city level, but even on the metropolitan level, is so important for the future of our cities. Whether a city is European, whether a city is Asian, whether a city is American, or whether a city is African, it is very important that we think about how we plan cities, how we build, how we make the living conditions, and how especially make sure that people can go out in cities. So from wealthy to healthy cities will be the theme in October 22 in Brussels. I'm really looking forward to see you in Brussels, the capital of Europe.
So I was just said, the topic for the Congress next year will be from wealthy to healthy cities, urbanism and planning, a driving force for the well-being and health of inhabitants. And when we initially proposed this topic for the ISOCARP Congress, believe it or not, COVID-19 was still unknown. It was at the end of 2019, and we could, of course, not foresee what would happen a few months later. COVID-19 hit in particular, and particularly hit cities. In cities, you have more contacts, more contaminations. The impact of the lockdown on urban life, economy, and social inclusion is much bigger. After 2 years of COVID-19 pandemic crisis, planning for healthier cities has therefore become of the uttermost importance. This theme will allow us next year to have a global debate on the evolution of post-COVID cities and a better consideration of health in planning at all territorial scales, from neighborhood to city to the metropolitan level, and even, in our case, cross-border macro-regional level. As Brussels is not only a region, not only a national capital, but also the capital of Europe. Health must therefore be approached in a broad way, and it has been said several times during this Congress. We are not only talking about health and health services, but well-being in general. We are not only talking about physical integrity, but also about mental balance, physical well-being, and even the quality of our social relationships. It will therefore be an opportunity to explore a wide range of issues in line with, remember, the Ottawa Charter in 1986 already. What are the determinants of health on which urban planning has the most impact? What are the major urban dimensions of health? This will allow us to deepen a simple idea, already often repeated. If you want to improve health in a city, don't take a doctor, take a planner. Health policies have only a marginal role on the health of citizens. But land use planning, mobility, housing, but also education, food, sport, these are all the real levers at our disposal. We indeed know and the WHO indeed shows us that the determinants of health are by 65% determined by the physical environment, meaning quality of air, water, soil, building materials, the social environment, the employment rate, the quality of jobs, the distribution of income, the access to housing, and the behavioral environment, such as diet, physical exercise, consumption. So in this context, access to infrastructures that encourage virtuous behaviors in our immediate environment takes on the role of nudges. The presence of shops offering healthy products, green spaces, infrastructures that are adapted for active modes of transport. All of these do impact, of course, our behaviors and then health. And on the contrary, permanently evolving in an unfavorable environment has a cumulative effect on health. And this explains why in certain neighborhoods or for certain categories of the population, you have a much lower life expectancy than others. How to respond to the pressing needs for housing and jobs, essential in most cities, with the imperatives of health and of the environment, with what guidelines, what dynamics, what development strategies for our cities. These are the key questions we must continue to ask ourselves. More than ever, the coherence of urban choices and the articulation between the different dimensions appear as an essential element. We have lots to learn from each other and to share the positive experiences that developed in our cities, which often combine regulations, vision, and investments. These are just a few elements of teasing, of course, for the Congress of next year, and we'll be discussing much more together in next year's Congress. So, under the political coordination of our state secretary that you just saw in the video, a transdisciplinary team has been composed of officers from spatial planning, urbanism, environment, and health regional administrations. Part of this team is here with us today and is already working to make this event a success, valuable for all participants. During the coming month, we will, of course, intensify our work with ISOCARP and with international, European, and local partners to develop an interesting program with stimulating and inspiring activities. The main event will take place in a remarkable venue in the city, and we would also like to show you the many faces of our beautiful city, and we are planning to organize, of course, technical tours, workshops in different neighborhoods. Moreover, we will take the advantage of that Brussels hosts many European and international institutions and organizations to organize events in cooperation with them. Brussels might not be the stunning city that you would instantly fall in love with, like Paris or Venice. But walking down its streets and meeting its people, you will soon find its secrets and be seduced by its welcoming personality, energy, and warm atmosphere. And this makes it, I believe, even more interesting for urban planners. The ISOCARP Congress in Brussels will then offer an opportunity to highlight the diversity of its urban space, but also demonstrate the urban dynamism of this city and the many projects that have been carried out and will be carried out in the years to come, including, of course, with on-site experiences. And just to give you a glimpse of our city and an incentive, of course, for all of you to be present, we have prepared a short video for you.
Everyone remembers those first steps that make us feel at home. Those first steps that guide us in our choices. You listen to your elders and learn from your peers. You are a painting on the street, graffiti in a museum. You let our minds and our hands express our creativity and dexterity. You are always enthusiastic about new talents and discoveries, breaking down walls to go one step further. You challenge us. Every day, you show a new path, healthier, greener and tastier, more innovative, mindful of the other and the environment. You're surprising, always hiding a peaceful corner in the city's bustle. You are the heart of Europe, where history meets the future and takes a big step. You make us all move together in a graceful choreography of nationalities. You have been tackled, but you picked yourself up stronger and more united than ever. You know how to take a deep breath and look forward. You make us live our passion, mix it with those of the other to make the impossible possible. You are the one who makes people connect with each other. Strangers become friends, and friends become family. And we all work and progress together. Around your table, contrasting colors and flavors meet and match in perfect harmony. You rock, you rap, you jam. Sometimes you're singing in the rain, but you keep smiling until the sun is shining. You are Brussels, where it feels like home.
So, we are waiting for you on October 2022 in Brussels, the capital of Europe, and thank you all for your attention. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mubarak, can you come forward for the handover, please? As we've reached to the end of the closing ceremony, I just want to remind you that the Gala Dinner is going to be held in Qatar National Museum. There will be buses ready and arranged for everyone, and hope to see you all there. Thank you.